Hey everyone, this is Nik Fergusson, Senior Account Executive at Life Design Analysis. We're still a couple minutes early, but we've got people rolling into the waiting room. So we'll get started in just a few minutes. Hang tight, grab a coffee, and we'll get started right at about 2:01, 2:02 Eastern. All right, well, it's 2 p.m. I'm just going to give it a minute or two longer, and we'll wait for a handful of people to still come in, and then we'll get started. Okay, well, it is 2:02, so let's get things kicked off here. So thank you again for joining me today. My name is Nik Fergusson. I'm a Senior Account Executive at Life Design Analysis, and I wanted to take the opportunity today to run through kind of a couple of different pieces of the system, kind of just a general refresher on how to utilize some key parts of LDA that you may not necessarily be totally familiar with. As well, this is kind of an open office hours session. So if you do have any questions or things you'd like to see, feel free to either submit that into the Q&A or into the chat in today's call. We're going to take approximately about a half hour here just to run through a handful of things. And of course, if any questions come up in the meantime as well, feel free to chime in the chat. But as far as things go for here today, why don't we get started? And I wanted to actually take a look at a system that maybe people haven't drilled into quite as closely as they would hope. But what that is the notification system. So there's a ton of stuff you can do with that in LDA, specifically around kind of how you can manage that information, as well as essentially what you can find there. For those who aren't aware, notifications is located at the top right of the screen. So under where it says welcome Nick here, we'll scroll down to the very bottom. If you have unread notifications, you'll see in that little badge icon next to it, it will show, say, 12 unread notifications, whatever it might be. You also see a little red icon next to welcome here in addition to that. So let's click notifications and check that system out here. So what we see here is kind of a ton of different information, and specifically what we can find within notifications are a number of different things. And actually kind of a list that speaks to that specifically is up at the top here. So something we built it a little while ago to help navigate this system a little more easily is essentially a filtering process we can apply to this. So types of notifications that come through here, birthday notifications, anytime a client has visited a case that you digitally shared with them through LDA, if there is a custom notification you set, group notification, stuff that comes down through your organization if you work with an enterprise account. Additionally, obviously, the kind of crucial stuff, term conversions, anything that's overdue, so like a term 10 that slipped into year 11 or term 20 slipped into year 21. And then, of course, needs analysis notifications. And then the odd time we do have an update or something crucial coming through, we will send system notifications out to advisors using LDA from time to time. So a ton of different ways you can kind of filter for specific things that you're looking for. If you're got a system anything like mine, you get a ton of notifications in LDA, and so it's easier rather than to kind of scroll all the way through dozens, if not hundreds of notifications. The easiest way to be able to tackle this is actually just to utilize that filter right there. So as an example, let's see, we want to look at all of our term 10 conversion opportunities. We're just going to click that filter. It's automatically going to filter out anything else that's not a term 10 conversion notification. And the cool part about that too is that we can also mass update these. So if, for example, we know we've already dealt with all of these, we can click mass update, select an action, and you could mark these as read if you've dealt with them, mark them as unread if you want to come back to these. You could archive them if you've already handled these opportunities and you want to push them to the back end of things. So you don't have to have them clutter up your notification system. Or of course you could delete. Personally, there's no storage restrictions on LDA, so I wouldn't recommend deleting. I would strictly use archive to do that. But essentially there, what we can then do is kind of utilize these functions to really more easily and more quickly sort through what's going on in our system here. So tons of stuff you can do with regard to that. In addition to this also, there are kind of the standard notifications that are built out and pre-batched in the system, but you can also create custom notifications too. So if you click create custom notification, that's going to allow you to set some type of kind of specific task that you want to take in the future. You could also attach a URL. So a lot of cases people will indicate like a case that they want to review and take a look at. So for example, we could throw our case link in there, schedule for a date. I want to take a look at this end of the month. You can plug in a time in there if you want, and then send a message to yourself. That effect. And then of course you can throw some French text in there. And then there's a ton of other kind of more specific stuff you can do to filter through that. But basically that's all you need to do in order to set a custom notification. And then you can go on ahead, create custom notification. And so recommended you definitely set a time in there. You go through that, but really kind of an easy way to be able to create something specific that you're looking for that may not be automatically batched in the system. And that's really kind of the idea here. So as an example, we could look at, say, maybe, let's see if I've got any birthday notifications in there that likely are dealt with. That I've already archived those. But you get the idea. There's a ton of stuff you can utilize notifications to kind of file things away, as well as really kind of just ensure that you're staying organized with your opportunities that are coming through. Obviously, that is kind of hugely important in the use of LDA is ensuring that you're staying as up to date as possible as you can on whatever specific conversions, renewals, exchange opportunities, overdue term has been notified to you in LDA. This is the easiest way to find that info. Secondary to that is actually kind of a cool new feature that we added just recently. And essentially what it allows you to do is create little descriptions of the different parts of a report. So for example, we go back to a presentation I was working on earlier today. We can take a look at this, and we've got a whole life here. So generate the report. The different components of a report, or what we call report components. So kind of beyond the cover page, we're looking at mission statement, premium schedule, looking at the visuals for that, some of premiums. You'll see in the system what we've actually set up are little tooltips. So if a client is looking at this case and they need a little more clarification into what actually this specific chart means, they can actually hover over that little question mark and it'll show them exactly what this is talking about here. So kind of a nice, easy way to be able to explain these different concepts and give a little more context to someone who's maybe not as familiar as we are as advisors. Point being with that though, is that not only are those built out in the system as kind of like a global setting, but if you're wanting to make specific customizations to that, or you want to add a note for the client, you can actually customize these in your case. So if you go down to report components, you'll find this new setting called Edit Report Component Tooltips. And that allows you to edit your settings. So you can add in your own descriptions if there's a necessity to kind of provide more context or depth to a specific thing, kind of explaining what, say, a needs analysis is, or for example, looking at plan details, looking at some of premiums, cash values, etc. You can provide in nice kind of maybe lay-term explanations of what these are so that the client has something to refer back to get greater context for what exactly it is that they're looking at beyond kind of looking at the numbers or looking at the graphics that have been built out there. We're pretty excited about this new addition here, just kind of an extra little hack that you can utilize to make these presentations even more easy to understand for the client, and kind of adding greater context, communicating more effectively in that manner. So a ton of stuff you can utilize there, just in kind of making this process easier to explain and easier to understand. And then actually kind of going back to the specific topic of client data is looking at something we added last year. So if we've go back to our dashboard and we want to look at managed clients. So specifically what I want to touch on here is something called policy summary. And essentially what it allows you to do is go into a specific client and pull a report of all of their existing coverages. And this is obviously super useful in the sense of being able to take a look at all of the existing coverages that a client has and place that into a nice looking report, very similar to what we do for a new business opportunity at LDA. But the difference being is that these are their in-force policies. So let me see if I can find a client with a good chunk of policies in it to actually show this example. Let's take a look at one of these here. So perfect, we got one here. So we're gonna go and view this specific client. They've got a couple policies already in force. And so where we would find policy summary is up at the top right. And so you'll see like your merge client, split client, edit client, and then under generate policy summary, that's where you can actually pull that info into a presentation that you can not only use in a meeting, but as well, it can be utilized to send off to the client, very similarly to how we would send off a normal presentation in LDA. So it's got your color cover page, it's got your logo and branding all kind of put together on that. You know, a nice type piece put together for the client. And then what it reviews here is any existing client info along with any respective information we have on their in-force policies. So this is not restricted to any number of policies. It'll continue to extend down If we have, say, like 5, 6, maybe 10 policies in place, all of that will be listed in the pages to follow to allow you to kind of provide a nice summary of this information to the client. So this allows you kind of a really quick way. I know in my meetings with other advisors, there's a lot of people I've come across who specifically will kind of put something together like this, but manually. And it is obviously very arduous, involves a lot of extra work, whether that's an Excel or some type of like a PDF template, or making these custom every time. Especially if you've got a large book of business, this becomes super, super time consuming. And so that was kind of where this idea of developing policy summary was born out of, was being able to, like we do with many other things, is build time savings and build efficiency into the process, as well as help you standardize how you run through these summarizations. So this is a super easy way to give something really high quality to your client, show them just how much you care by giving them a super customized look to their summary without having to do a ton of the extra work. We've taken the liberty of automating that process. Top right is also obviously kind of 2 easy ways to share this with the client. We can generate a PDF, print a physical copy of this if we wanted to. Alternatively, very similar to how we'd share a presentation in LDA, we hit share. That's going to pull a link specific to this particular policy summary. And then you can send this across to the clients. You can set an expiration date. You can request visitor info. And then all you've got to do is copy that URL and send that across to the client, and they can access that. That will also notify you when they've accessed the policy summary, if they access it multiple times, as well as just keeping you up to date with who is actually accessing that once you've sent it across to the client. So easy way to also delineate those two is by using the visitor info. It'll tell you, say, if you sent it off to a couple, 2 spouses, and it'll be able to track who's accessed based on the names that have been inputted upon entry. So I would say a ton of utility people can get out of that specific function, just as you go through your yearly reviews with clients, ensuring that you're covering off any potential upcoming liabilities or risks in the plan, and really being able to summarize all that in a super quick and easy way. And then what we got here following this was another function that's becoming more and more popular in LDA, and that's a system called lead gen. And so really what that allows you to do is capture potential leads, prospects that are coming through your website. And it's done just by the installation of a simple piece of code. So I can pull up an example I've actually prepped here to kind of give an idea of what that actually looks like. Just pull it up here. So essentially the idea is that we take this small snippet of code generated out of LDA, and what it allows you to do is directly connect your website to your LDA account. And by virtue of that, then you're able to utilize kind of the powerful automated quotes that LDA can run. You can run a needs analysis automatically for a client. And then also we can capture that lead info to translate directly to you, for which you can then follow up with that prospect and see if there's an opportunity to be had there. And so really kind of how it looks, it can be customized as far as the colors that are utilized. We want it to match your site and have the same look and feel as the rest of your kind of client ecosystem has. And so the idea here is basically, it starts with a form. They self-identify who they are, their gender, geographical location, smoker status. They're then going to provide a date of birth. And then of course they can provide a purpose for insurance. And so this is, think of this as kind of like them automatically selecting the types of insurance that will be run on the basis of kind of what they're looking for. So for example, buying a house, it's going to run one of our recipes, and specifically it's going to run a recipe that will quote them a term 10, a term 20, and a term 30 on the basis of whether they've set a specific amount that they're looking for the insurance death benefit. Or alternatively, you can say, I'm not sure how much I need, proceed to fill out the form. And then what it's going to do is actually have them fill out a quick needs analysis. So we'll go ahead and hit that, hit next. It's going to push us to the needs analysis portion of this. And this is also kind of a great piece as well to really kind of help educate the prospect on kind of what actually goes into an insurance need. So as an example, we're looking at buying life insurance because we just bought a new home. So say we get $750,000 in the mortgage. We want to factor in some income replacement, say for a spouse. Do 5 years of that. We've got some young kids at home. Maybe we want to provide funding for that built into the insurance as well for when they go to post-secondary. Any remaining household debt outside of the mortgage. Final expenses. And then, of course, there's additional coverage you can factor in here. So maybe this is like charitable gifts. And then inflation could be factored in as well. And then, of course, any existing life insurance coverage. So here, it's going to then automatically calculate that on the basis of kind of just simple integer calculation. Once we're satisfied with that insurance need, hit next. And this is where lead gen gets put to work. So automatically, it's going to start to go out into the market based on the parameters you set your account, access the preferred carriers that you quote from, as well as a number of the other preferences you've set in your LDA system. And then it's automatically going to quote a term 10, 20, and 30. So we can hit view report. And what effectively they have is a fully customized presentation that was automated from LDA. It's been sent by you. It's got your company logo, your branding all over it. And again, kind of producing a super, super customized look without kind of really having to put any work into actually quoting the solutions yourself. Of course, this may be subject to change. Maybe there's a rating involved or some other kind of instance that requires some further customization. But the point being is that this gives them a nice customized piece in their hands right away and allows them to actually see some realistic options. It allows them to go through that needs analysis and ultimately see kind of based on their current situation, what's actually available to them, what's going to be a well-priced option based on their situation. And so we get a quick side-by-side of the different options available here. We can visualize that same data. So looking at our 3 different solutions, term 10, term 20, term 30, and looking at what those premiums look like, renewals in addition to that. Seeing our total costs over the long term, as well as getting insight into kind of where those break-even points are. And then, of course, you can add in different things. So the nice part about this is that kind of selections for the report components, no different than a presentation you would put together yourself, can be automatically adjusted to default. So you can make this a super concise report. You could add additional pieces to it, things that you see would be appropriate in these particular cases. But the point being here is that we want to be able to give this prospect coming through your site the opportunity to see something super high effort, highly customized to them, but also have that automated to take kind of the arduous work out of actually delivering on that and delivering on it very quickly, rather than kind of you having to sit behind the scenes and throw everything together as quickly as possible. We've got LDA doing the heavy lifting on that. So that's really kind of the idea behind lead gen. It's a simple system to install. We're happy to work with you if you manage your own site or if you work with a developer or an agency, we're happy to collaborate with them to put that together. But it's pretty simple. Basically, all you need to do is go into your subscription, add it as an additional charge to your existing subscription. And it's just a little checkbox down here, available add-ons, click embedded needs analysis, and that'll tack on the cost to your upcoming renewal, and it'll be good to go. From there, once you've paid for the add-on, simple process is simply just to go up to where it says welcome again, and where we need to navigate to is my account. That's where we're going to be able to designate the domain or the website that it's going to live at, and then get the code that will actually be generated specific to that. So you see under the section it says embed. You're going to type in your domain. Typically, it's just kind of the standard lifedesignanalysis.com or whatever it might be. And then of course, hit save. And this is the snippet of code that you'll use. And we're more than happy to help assist in getting this installed. You just copy that information, send it off to your developer, and then they'll get it installed, and you just make the decision on where you actually want that to live on your site. Pretty simple process, a super powerful tool. We've been seeing a lot of great results with other advisors who have been utilizing it over the last year now. And we're looking to kind of continue to improve that and really kind of make that a great experience there. So if you have other questions, if that's something that you want to see more of and get kind of a more customized explanation on how it would apply in your specific scenario, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you out with that. That kind of brings me to the close of the topics I wanted to cover off today. But let's see if anyone has any questions. Let's give a few minutes to break there and see if anyone has any specific questions about anything at all. Could be related to a specific case, could be related to a feature that you're curious about that you haven't tested out yet. But let's take a minute or two and see if anyone's got a question. Okay, so we've got a question coming in from asking about reference material for setting up lead gen. Yeah, so we absolutely do have additional materials to provide in that. We've got some video tutorials as well as, of course, we're happy to kind of consult one-on-one to answer any specific questions you have. Something I can definitely follow up with you specifically with regard to kind of additional resources you can be provided on that. Let's see, anyone else got any questions here? Okay, well, if there are no more questions, then we can definitely wrap up for today, unless there's any kind of late additions here. Yeah. Any other questions remaining? Okay, looks like we're all tapped out for questions. As far as things go, continuing here from today, if there is something that you realize you meant to ask, you forgot about, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can reach me at Nicholas, Nikolas, at lifedesignanalysis.com. Or of course, you can reach out to our support team. We have our live chat on the site, just on the right-hand side, the blue tab that says Ask Us a Question. Feel free to chime in there too, if you have any questions kind of following this session. And of course, we've recorded this session as well. So if you want to refer back to part of what we covered off today, we'll be providing links to the recording tomorrow. Thank you very much for giving me some of your time today. I hope this was informational. I hope you learned a little bit about LDA that you didn't know before. And of course, as always, please reach out to us for any support or additional questions you might have leading forward from here. Thank you again for your time and have a great day. Looking forward to meeting with you again.